A very good afternoon and welcome to today's global weather live from Marfogan Weather HQ here in Edmonton, Rossshire. We're going to kick things off in a little second with my personal report from the coldest portion of the UK yesterday morning. It was not only the coldest place in the UK, but it was also the coldest place anywhere in the UK for the month of January since 2010. A very warm welcome and thanks for clicking on to today's live stream. It is the 12th of January and the cold spell that we've got at the moment is gradually starting to wane as milder air moves in from the southwest direction. So, first on the live chat this afternoon was our very own Paul James. Good afternoon to Paul. We've got Steve Chilton on, and we've also got Chris Clifford on this afternoon as well. You know the drill by now. Be sure to hit that like button, let myself on YouTube know that you're enjoying the content here on the channel, and also hit that subscribe button as well. It would be very greatly appreciated. Taking trips on icy, snowy roads into the far north of Scotland to record the coldest places and talk about it. So I'm working very hard here to deliver unique, unbiased, unhyped weather content here anywhere on the YouTube platform. We've now starting to see plenty of names popping up on the live stream. We've got Turbo Stream, we've got Simon Davies, we've got Hebridean, we've got who else have we got here? Who else? It looks as if that is who we've got at the moment. We've got 21 concurrent viewers. So a massive thank you to everybody for tuning in for today's look at the global picture. Obviously, a lot of things going on here right on our own doorstep, but we are going to also look at some of the other extremes that have been taking place around the face of the planet over the last 7 days or so. Obviously, we've had the dreadful wildfire situation in southwestern United States, in California to be precise, where Pacific Palisades has been essentially wiped off a map by wildfire. So our thoughts and our prayers very much go to those in that area of California. We've also got Richard Gray tuning in as well. Very good afternoon to Richard. So let's, without any further ado, let's have a watch. I hope you can hear it. Let's watch the video that I recorded from Altnaharra, the UK icebox, yesterday morning as the temperature was just shy of minus 19 Celsius. So let's crack on and I'll play this first and foremost. Like I say, I hope you can hear this. A very good morning from a rather cold Altnaharra in Sutherland. The time has just gone 8:15 a.m. The temperature has dipped to at least minus 18.7. This is the coldest spot in the UK, and it is also the coldest January night since 2010, when the temperature hit an infamous minus 22.3 Celsius. This small hamlet in Sutherland, far northern Scotland, home to only some roughly 50 residents, also holds the record for the UK's lowest minimum temperature of minus 27.3 Celsius, recorded back in the end of December 1995. Now, that record has actually been achieved on 3 separate occasions. But incidentally, this current cold spell has seen Altnaharra, one of Altnaharra's coldest daytime maximums, minus 9.4 Celsius yesterday, while a 40-minute drive from here, Kinbrace recorded its coldest daytime maximum on record. So this cold spell has been somewhat impressive. It is about to end. We've got high pressure that has essentially locked in the cold over the last 24 hours or so, providing those very cold daytime maxima and overnight minimums, starting off at minus 14.6 yesterday afternoon, or late morning, I think it was. That became the coldest of this spell so far, up until this morning when that figure was broken by the minus 18.7 Celsius. What's going to be interesting is, with Met Office information coming out, have we seen a minus 19 recorded here at some point this morning? That's going to be the question. But it certainly we've got that high pressure now then going to be slipping southwards. It's going to be allowing southwesterly winds to strengthen. That's going to usher in much milder air, and over the next 36 hours we're going to see temperatures rise from minus 18.5 to 19 degrees Celsius to plus 12 or 13 by the time we reach Monday afternoon. So we are going to see a very, very abrupt rise in temperature over the next 36 hours here in Altnaharra, but also across many areas of western and northern UK. Staying chilly across south and eastern areas of the British Isles through the course of tomorrow. It will stay chilly today, by the way. We are likely to struggle to get much above the freezing mark for the majority of today, maybe even lasting into the overnight. But then when those southwesterly winds start to kind of kick in, we are going to see the temperatures rising during the overnight tonight and into tomorrow. But there is the famous weather station encased in ice. It is a record holder for the UK, not just all time, but for the month of January 2025 as well. So sitting here in Altnaharra, I'm going to hit the road because I've been up all night. I've been on the night shift, and it is time to get back down the road. About an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and a half's drive down, and then get a couple of hours sleep. Enjoy the rest of your day, and join me tomorrow for the live stream. So you can check that video out right here on the YouTube channel at your leisure if you haven't already watched it. The reason why I'm recording inside the car, by the way, because I had every intent to record that out in the minus 19 Celsius air. But the problem was that I was out photographing around about, and the battery literally just got sapped of its energy because of the cold weather. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to record actually outside. I did record in minus 21 Celsius temperatures back in Cumbrace on the morning of the 11th of February 2021. So not just quite as cold as that, but nevertheless, the UK's official coldest temperature since January of 2010. We've obviously seen colder since then, but not during the month of January. But yeah, it was great to be up there. It was, an Arctic wilderness, the drive up. So I done my night shift Friday into Saturday morning, finished about 2:30 a.m. And then what I did was I jumped in the car, got home, grabbed coffee, got myself a couple of rolls that my dear wife kindly woke up, set her alarm at 3 o'clock in the morning, made us a couple of sausage rolls to hit the road. And on the drive up, temperatures were generally in the kind of double figures below freezing. But once you start to get about the Bonar Bridge direction, I don't know if you know this area, but once you reach Bonar Bridge, minus 14, a lot of snow covered landscape. Obviously, there was snow covered roads at times, there was the tracks, there was ice, had the kind of really 40-45 mile per hour at times. Then the gauge was slowly getting colder. In fact, about 6 or 7 miles to the south of Altnaharra, the temperature in the car read minus 19. At the station itself, it was actually sitting on minus 16 and minus 17. Driving around, it was dark. I arrived, I think, about 10 past 5 in the morning, and stayed till about 8:15. And yeah, it was pretty impressive stuff. I've been to Altnaharra a few times. Let me know in the live chat if you've been to Altnaharra. What is your coldest temperature that you can recall? I would be curious to know that. But we've been fortunate with the first 12 days of January has been below freezing every night here at the house. It was a record breaker yesterday, high of minus 2.2, and a minimum temperature of minus 10.6 here at Marthogan Weather HQ in Edmonton. Not that far away, by the way, from the shores of the Cromarty Firth, where there was steam coming off the Firth as I was driving back. I went over the Struy Hill, and I was kind of sorry to do that because the road wasn't particularly great. But anyway, let's have a quick look at some of the comments first and see what everybody's saying. So we've got Paul James saying good afternoon. We've got Steve saying hi Mark, good afternoon to you. Stunning photo of the weather station in Altnaharra, says Paul. Thank you very much, Paul. Chris Clifford, hi Mark. Turbo Stream, good afternoon everyone. Simon says good afternoon from a sunny Bridgend in South Wales. Hebridean, hi all. We've got Turbo Stream saying not been here in a few weeks. Well, it's very good to see you, Turbo Stream. Thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. You're always more than welcome to pop in and say hello. Turbo also says, I think the lowest temperatures we got to was -6 this cold spell. We'll be glad to have some warmer temperatures. I have a few outside jobs to do. And Turbo Stream is also I'm in southwest Birmingham, where it has been quite chilly. I think some of the sites in and around the Birmingham area, -7, -8 in a few spots, especially in kind of frost hollows in the West Midlands. Kevin Barber also saying, good afternoon, Mark. We missed out on the snow, but we will certainly had some crisp blue days and frost forming on frost. I loved the epic trip to Altnaharra. Thank you very much, Kevin. Steve says hi. Yes, Mark, I can. We've got Andrew Newell saying hi, Mark. We've got Hebridean. Yes, sound okay. So talking about the quality of the video. Nothing as it seems says it's bright and early here at 122.5 degrees west. Who else have we got? We've got City Andy also tuning in. Good afternoon to you, Andy. Kevin says it's 1 Celsius even on the coast as I text. Steffi Adcock also tuning in. Not seen Steffi in a wee while. Hope you're well, Steffi, and keeping well and warm. Unfortunately, we do have a little bit of a pipe issue here at Marv Hogan Weather HQ. The pipe's frozen and there's no heating, so we've not actually had heating here at the house since yesterday afternoon. We actually did manage to get some lukewarm water on the outside pipe, which is rather thin and not very well insulated, I must admit. But it appears to be that pipe must be frozen, and I'm no plumber by any stretch, but we managed to get it briefly on last night, and then it packed in once again. I've been trying all afternoon, so I hope that is the problem and nothing a little bit more sinister than that. But Paul says December 2010 arrived at work in Blackburn on 6 a.m. And temperature was -15. Obviously, this is absolutely no minus. It's no repeat of 2010 by any stretch, but it certainly is probably the coldest first half to a January since 2010, and but we're not on par with the longevity and the amount of snow that was seen pretty much from north coast to south coast and points in between. The amount of hardship that it affected on everybody. This cold spell, it has become reasonably decent, but it's obviously not on par whatsoever with 2010 or anything like that. But certainly it has become reasonably impressive. Even down in the London area, I noticed a couple of tweets here by Daniel at the London and Southeast Weather showing this was from an article. So obviously the cold now has been forced largely to the east and to the south of the UK. The high pressure is still firmly in control, and as that slips slightly to the southeast, we're going to start to see the warmer air coming in around the top of the high. So starting off Ireland, Northern Ireland, western side of Scotland and the UK, the coldest air remaining locked over east and southeastern areas. These are the current temperatures according to Meteosale. So we're starting to see that gradual rise. Obviously, we've got snow-covered ground as well. That kind of helps fight against that mild air coming in from the southwest. But we've got a +8 at the Stornoway Airport. We've got 10 at the Old Bay on the west coast, and we're kind of 3-ish degrees both at Tain, Loch Liscarnock, 2 at Altnaharra. Bear in mind we did have double figures below freezing yet again this morning, but we are slowly but surely starting to see that warm up taking place. Look at the eastern side of both Scotland, but particularly down the eastern side of England, we've still got the temperatures close to the freezing mark. Even down around the Greater London area, we've got the 3 Celsius. We've got a 3 or a 2 in the East Anglia area. So the chill is holding on here. But we've had telltale signs even yesterday morning when it was -19 or just shy of that at Altnaharra. We already had +5, 6, 7, both in the southwest corner of England, but also down across the southwest of Ireland as well. But I actually, if I'm being honest, thought we may see a slightly quicker warm up even in the west. But it's gradually starting to erode that cold air. And my thinking is, if you've been following the channel, if you've been following the uploaded videos, my thinking is that this chill is going to get wiped away, but then it's going to be replaced by milder. And that milder is likely to hold on, incidentally, in the eastern side of the United States. So the other side of the Atlantic, we've got a different story. It looks as if the cold is going to get reinforced here, and my thinking would be the possibility of something a little bit more in the way of stormier as we move into the second half of January, especially when you've got Arctic air getting driven south into the eastern side of North America. Then you've also got the Manjulian Oscillation rotating towards phases 2 and 3, which tend to promote stormier weather for Western Europe, by the way. So we'll wait and see what happens. But again, I'm pretty pleased with the winter forecast. Largely milder December. We had a cold first half to January, milder second half to January. So we'll wait and see what happens with regards to the overall pattern, and even with the prospects of cold coming back in. That winter's not done by any stretch, in my opinion, folks. That's for sure. We did expect to see this back and forth of winter. That's been part of the forecast very much since the end of November, and so far so good. February has let me down a few times recently, and it'll be interesting to see. I've kind of went for cold and a significant spell of cold during the month of February. It'll be interesting to see whether I end up getting like last year it horribly wrong, but we'll wait and see. Only time will tell. But so anyway, yes, let's keep any global weather chat out. So Paul is right in what he's saying here. We're not going to mention climate change. I do talk a little bit of factual information with regards to temperature anomalies around the world, but this is a chat in which people are welcome to provide their own opinions on things, but certainly certain aspects we're going to have a little bit of a hard line on. So the moderators, please feel free to filter any comments that you think is deemed, questionable or even offensive or whatever. We're not going to have that in the live chat, I'm afraid, folks. Everybody is welcome to their opinion. I want everybody to feel welcome here. It is one of those places every Sunday afternoon that people can come, voice their opinion within reason, and have some nice chat. It would be good. And also no politics, says Steve Chilton as well. So yes, we'll just keep it purely to the weather, and there's plenty of platforms out there that are much more open to debate with regards to climate change and whatever else that may be. So Andrew Nixon saying, sadly, non-event in the Central Belt, as is always the case with a northerly or northwesterly. Very true, Andrew. North or northwesterly winds never really provide much in the way of snow for the Central Belt. Having lived in Kirkintilloch, just north of Glasgow, I know that very well, and my folks have been there for 20 plus years as well. So yes, the Central Belt hasn't really had much in the way of snow. It's been chilly, it's been cold. Some of the nights have been reasonably cold as well, but nevertheless, it hasn't been overly snowy. Even up here, we've had 2 centimeters roughly of snow. That has been the case for the best part of 2 weeks now. We've had either a light covering or that kind of 2 centimeter kind of level depth. That's been the case. And that's going to very quickly disappear. It's become slushy after what was a particularly chilly day yesterday. There was certainly no thaw. So when the Cairngorms and Grampians take the snow, leaving us with a few flakes, says Andrew, finishing off the sentence that I began. So thank you for your input. Who else? We've got Steffi saying, I'm doing very well, thanks, Mark. I've been redirecting my time towards learning BSL, so I've missed a lot of live streams. Not a problem. We're all busy with our lives. You've not got an arm twist to be on here by any stretch. But if you're free and available and you want to tune in, you're always welcome to do so. Anybody that is. Thanks for your comment, Steffi. We are going to rattle on. This is the situation as it unfolds here. So like again, I kind of diverge. I go away from the subject, come back. This is what Daniel was saying earlier. This is rare. City of London is among the coldest stations in the UK this afternoon, sitting at 1 Celsius. Cold, mist and fog, especially dense in East London, he says. And obviously, when you've got the fog in place, that really does hold the temperature back from warming up. But it's interesting nonetheless. Sometimes these cold spells can actually pack the biggest sting as they are about to leave. This is a tweet here by Wanstead Weather. I always say Wanstead, and I hope that's the right pronunciation. But Wanstead Weather saying another cold night. So this was back from this morning, I believe. A low of minus 6.4 fog and a build-up of hoarfrost, which didn't thaw yesterday, gives the appearance it snowed. I'll tell you what, by the way, that drive up and down the Altnaharra. It was like driving in Arctic Sweden or something. You know, the pine trees were encased in snow and hoarfrost from foggy conditions. It really was a spectacular sight as I was driving, especially going back south again. There was the daylight as well, so I was able to see the overall terrain, and it just looked absolutely fabulous indeed up in the open expanse of Sutherland. It really is a different world altogether. So, is there anybody else in the chat that haven't shouted out already? Be sure to hit that like button. We've only got, I believe, 11 likes on this live video today. So please hit the like button. It really does spread the word through YouTube that you're enjoying the content and people are watching. It is always helpful if you're if you're tuning in. But it looks as if we've got a relatively quiet audience this afternoon, 33 concurrent viewers at the moment. So let's crack on and see what's going on at the moment here. So we know the cold spell is on its way out gradually. It's going to be slowest to move out of the way in the east and southeast of the UK, but we do have even Writtle and Essex, the coldest spot, minus 5.1 Celsius at midnight. What else is Daniel saying? So minus 6.9. Actually, meanwhile, in St Mary's, has not had a freezing temperature or a frost in 7 years. That is since February, March 2018. So quite impressive, actually. Minus 4 Celsius on the Isles of Scilly. So yeah, coldest here at all in some 7 years since the Beast from the East in February, March 2018. So yeah, the cold has certainly bitten pretty hard. Look at this beautiful image here. Wow, where's this here? Main Street. Don't actually know. It's obviously somewhere in England, I believe, by Bronte Country Landscapes. Wow, what an absolutely fantastic photograph that is. Where is he based here? So Oakworth in Bronte Country. Whereabouts is that? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comment section below. I just happened to come across that image here on Daniel's Twitter feed. So this is London and Southeast weather. You can see beautiful scenes in and around the London area. Doesn't often get particularly cold these past number of winters, but this is certainly a chilly one, and I'm sure welcome by all, especially when you're used to the stifling summer temperatures down in the London and southeast of England area. You're probably making the most of this wintry spell. This is a beautiful picture here by Ruth Wadey of the Winter Wonderland at Bushy Park in the London area as well. So let me go on to my own Twitter page real quick and show you a couple of interesting things. So yeah, this was the scene at the weather station back on Friday night as the sun had just set. Like I said, a new record here at Marfogan Weather HQ. The weather station's only been live and active for just over 2 years, in fact. But it was the coldest day and the coldest night on record here, with a high of minus 2.2 and a low of minus 10.6 Celsius. And then the temperature did plummet to between minus 6 and minus 8 last night, and not so good when you've not got any heat and you've got the frozen pipes, but nevertheless, that is another story. This was the scene I captured from Altnaharra yesterday morning as the sun was slowly starting to rise. This is an interesting tweet here by our friend Shryan Bruin, based in Dublin, Ireland. Lowest monthly mins in the UK in the 2020s so far, so sub minus 15 or lower. February 21 was the last sub minus 20, so we didn't actually quite hit the famous minus 20 mark, but it was reasonably close. And then the minus 18.9, that was the official low at Altnaharra yesterday morning, the coldest since 2010. December 22, we had minus 17.3, and March 2023, after a sudden stratospheric warming, Altnaharra dipped to minus 16 Celsius. So yeah, you can check out the photographs and the videos that I captured both on Facebook, but Twitter as well. Look at this here. This is an amazing capture here. This is how the clear snow, by the way, pretty incredible stuff. I've had the fortune actually of being there with my mum way back 2004, I think it was, that we visited there. So pretty impressive stuff. That's how you clear snow off a runway. I'm sure folks there certainly know how it's done. This is the very weather station that recorded that famous minus 18.9 yesterday morning, coldest day in Altnaharra and the UK since 2010. So that was a capture by myself of a rather frosty weather station. Let's continue to skip on. There's the man himself. And have we got anything else to show? No. We did actually see Kinbrace had its coldest maximum temperature on record, minus 9.6. That was, I think, on Friday afternoon. So we also had the coldest January maximum of that minus 9.6, I believe, since 1982, I think, if I'm right in saying. But I'll talk a little bit more about some of the stats on this cold spell in the next video or two. We've got Sink Splint tuning in. Very good afternoon to you, Sink. Hope you are well and staying warm. We've also got Katrine also on. We've got Kevin Barber. Anybody else tuning in this afternoon? I don't think so. Gary Dewar also tuning in. I think, have I said hello to Gary? I don't know if I have. If I'm repeating myself, I do apologise. It probably is my age. So anyway, this is the current CDAS 0.5 data for the first 12 days of January. So we are pretty much knocking the door of the midpoint of meteorological winter. And overall, if we look, so how many days have we had? We've probably had, what, about 40-ish days, 40, 45 days of winter so far. Let's actually have a look at that and see what how generally the winter is panning out in terms of the temperature anomaly. So this is the global picture. You can see quite a swathe of, it's actually been a slightly colder than average winter. Northern plains into the eastern United States, through much of central and western China, into the Middle East region. Northern Africa is actually quite cold, well, cooler compared to average. Australia warmer than average. A bit of a divide across South America. Warm across the majority of Brazil, but Argentina looks as if it's largely colder than average away from the far south. Both Chile and Argentina's south is running warmer than average. This is the last 45 days, so essentially we're talking about roughly how winter's looking. Canada, it's been warmer than average, especially across the far north of the entire hemisphere. In fact, by the way, did you know that the Summit Camp hit minus 60 the other day there? That's the coldest, not only for Greenland, but also for the northern hemisphere this winter so far. Temperatures have been struggling a little bit to get down to the typical minus 50, minus 60 level that you would expect in Russian Siberia, for example. But nonetheless, we are seeing temperatures dropping over Greenland. We're seeing the kind of minus 40, minus 50 Celsius range across parts of the coldest spots in the northern hemisphere. But generally speaking, it's been warmer than average. By the way, this is the last 45 days across the European continent, and largely warmer than average, which is interesting. So it's easy to forget the mildness through much of December. But when you factor in even the cold spell that we're slowly coming out of, you can see that generally the last 45 days has been slightly warmer than average, close to average in a couple of spots, including central and southeast England, northwest and north Scotland, close to the average. And then the majority of Ireland, with exceptions of far northern kind of Antrim direction in Northern Ireland, slightly warmer than average. But this is the last. This is obviously the last 45 days, which basically incorporates the month of December and the first half of January. This is how the month of January is looking so far. Iceland really stands out as a particularly chilly location, and that has been the case for the best part of 12 months now. Actually, they've been running colder than average. We've got the UK and Ireland as a whole firmly below average. What's going to be interesting is the mildness that we're going to start to see kicking in. It's going to be interesting to see by the end of this month where we stand. Remember, I've got average to below average for the month of January for the UK and Ireland. This is how it's looking at the moment, but we know that we're likely to see a slightly milder back half of the month. This is the upcoming 5 days according to the GFS ensemble, looking over top of the hemisphere. And you can see here the United States, especially the east, cold than average. Canada, warmer than average. Greenland, colder than average on the whole. Iceland, upcoming 5 days, is actually warmer than average. And for the UK as a whole, let's have a look at Europe and see what it's indicating for the next 5 days or so. And you can see that we have got largely warmer than average, but close to average across the bulk of England here, away from the far north. Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, warmer than average. France, colder than average. Iberia, kind of largely cooler than average, if you notice here. Italy, cool than average. The Balkan region, largely cool than average towards the Mediterranean basin, that is. And central and northern portions of Europe, including Turkey, which I know the majority of Turkey is in Asia, is largely warmer than average. The upcoming 6 to 10 day, again, slightly warmer than average for the UK and Ireland, according to this model anyway. Still close to kind of bouncing between slightly colder, slightly warmer across France. Same goes for the Iberian Peninsula as well. So let me just see here. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to do two things at once, which doesn't really work for me. Hazel Kitching also tune in. Good afternoon to Hazel. Hope you're well in the, I believe it's the Hull area of Eastern England that Hazel is in. What's your weather like, Hazel? I bet you it's a little bit on the chilly side for you there. This is the 11 to 15 day. And notice here that we're turning slightly cooler than average as we move towards the period between the 22nd and the 27th of January. More on that and the medium to longer range in the upcoming European outlooks. By the way, I'm going to look at the longer term picture. So stay tuned and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell as well. It also means that you're not going to miss any uploads. Usually about 5:30 p.m. each evening, there is a video uploaded, and we're going to look more at the polar vortex, the latest with regards to what's going on there. I did do a video a couple of days ago. You can check that out. And discuss the MJO and the polar vortex in a little bit of detail. But we'll continue to revisit these teleconnections and see how they're behaving, how some of the models are showing as well in terms of the weather pattern overall. But it looks as if we've got a positive NAO developing, low pressure to the north, higher pressure to the south, largely Atlantic driven, I think, is likely as we progress through the next few days or so anyway. So this is how the Thierry Goose Twitter thread is looking like. So we'll have a wee quick tour of the world, see what extremes that have been taking place in recent times. But before we do that, I'll have a quick check again on the live chat here. I am in East Yorkshire. Mark says Hazel. Hebridean saying Western Russia is still running warmer than average. Yes, quite a few areas that are running slightly warmer than average for the winter as a whole. We've got 46 concurrent viewers at the moment. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already done so. So Thierry Goose is saying, so obviously we've got this Arctic air plunging into the United States. We've seen some pretty cold weather in recent times, snow, freezing rain, all sorts of conditions that have been causing issues. We know the script in Southern California. We'll look at that in a second here. But Thierry said remarkable low temperatures in the highlands in the Chihuahua state, probably the wrong pronunciation, but that state anyway in Mexico. Elevation generally at 2,200 meters above sea level in this region of Mexico. So northern Mexico, temperatures as low as minus 23.1 Celsius. So chilly old weather, reaching the subtropical region of Mexico. Obviously, we've got high elevations and it does get cold naturally, but nevertheless, we did see, have to remember as well, we did see lows over the last 24 hours down to minus 20 Celsius around the Carbridge Aviemore area of Central Highland. Lee at the Highland Weather showing some of the chilly numbers that have been achieved, especially towards the Duffel area. That is some pretty significant frost hollows in that area of the Cairngorm region. So chilly, minus 60, like I said, in Greenland in recent times. Let me see here if there's anything else I can see. San Diego in California is now officially the driest start to the water year since October 1st, with only 0.14 inches so far. I do know that Paul James has a little bit of experience in the Southern California area. Pretty noteworthy stuff, Paul. Seeing this, obviously it's a La Nina year, not properly kicking in, but I think it's going to start to have some influence, and I think it probably already is having influence on the drier than average conditions across Southern California, and this is going to be a problem as we move towards the summer season. Obviously, when you start to wave goodbye to any prospects of rain, I suppose, in this part of the world. Not so good in terms of drought developing. We've got a significant drought across the majority of the United States, actually. So, concerning stuff. We'll look more into that going forward. Some significant snows across the other side of the Pacific in Japan. Snow depth upwards of 186 centimeters at the Shirakawa Go Gifu, which plus 110 centimeters in less than 3 days. Remember, this is one of the snowiest places on the planet, but nevertheless, we've been seeing some epic snowfall in parts of northern Japan in recent times. The monthly record is 280 centimeters in 2006. So you can see the image here. This is what it looks like at the moment versus what it looks like when there is no winter. So quite impressive amounts of snow. Paul says, yes, Mark, Santa Ana wind is a famous wind that brings hot air from the deserts. Yes, some of the warmest temperatures received all the way to the coast of California. I did quite an in-depth kind of study of the Californian climate way back, probably about 10 or 12 years ago, Paul, and talking about the overall climate mechanisms that affect California. It really is quite an interesting climate, actually. The Californian climate, and when you get those hot, more dry, I suppose, than hot, but some of the highest temperatures right on the coastline itself is achieved when you get that Santa Ana wind blowing. I think we've seen with that fire at the Pacific Palisades, I think we did have the Santa Ana wind blowing, unfortunately, and that fan, it didn't cause the fire. But generally, once you get the fire going and you get a Santa Ana wind that is like a hairdryer wind, unfortunately, it only means one thing, and that is wildfire gets out of control, and it's all sorts of havoc on property, people, animals, etc., etc. I think the last time I checked, there was 100. It was 10 deaths, like basically from that fire, which is pretty atrocious. Obviously, the loss of wildlife as well, and then you've got thousands and thousands of homes that have been burnt to the ground. Really is quite a sad situation, and that I think that really that's an understatement. Actually, what's happened in Southern California. So let me see here. What else I can show? Interesting one. This, by the way, the highest temperature recorded today, which was on the 8th of January, was only 75 Fahrenheit or 23.9 Celsius in Oxnard, Camarillo, and Ojai in California. This is an unusually low US temperature maximum, but unfortunately, with the obviously the Santa Ana winds, we did see a warming trend, affect the southwestern portions of the United States. So Hulawin, I think, is the. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I do apologise. But we've got Hulawin in the live chat this afternoon. Very good afternoon to you. Hope you're well. Barometer really high at 1,004 millibars in Wrexham. He says, I think the pressure was up to 1033 millibars actually back yesterday, which was actually slightly higher than I anticipated. I thought maybe 1028, but 1033 millibars for the peak in pressure as that high basically dropped in from the north. It locked in the cold air in place, and then we've seen the very cold days and nights as a consequence. Once you get those winds dropping off, obviously the northerly wind was keeping the temperature slightly up, especially across the northern half of the UK. And then the night that we did see minus 18.9 at Altnaharra, and widespread double figures below freezing in the north in particular. Notice when I left Glasgow, actually, there was a wee bit of cloud cover drifted in from the North Sea that kept the temperatures from really dropping off. But when you've got the clear skies, light winds, drier, snow-covered ground, you've got maximum radiational cooling potential, and we've seen that happen back a day or so ago, obviously. So let's continue to crack on here. Let's go into the Weather Monitor Twitter page, because this is quite interesting in terms of some of the tweets that they put out, and obviously the scenes from southwestern California is really hitting the news headlines quite a bit. We've got Richard Trott tuning in. Good afternoon to Richard. Hope you are well, my friend. What does Richard say? He says, hi all, watching the cup match but not liking what I'm seeing, a slightly biased ref, 7 United players booked, including red card. Nice video at Marvel Weather, cold and still, but pretty, says Richard. I'm assuming the game isn't going particularly well for Man United. That's been the story of the season, hasn't it? It's been a bit like Rangers. One result is good, and then the next 3 results are poor. And it's actually an opportunity to watch it on the TV. I don't have Sky or anything, so I kind of wish I was watching. Well, maybe not wishing I was watching it if it's no good. But thanks for tuning in, Richard. I hope you are keeping well, my friend. So let's crack on and see what is happening. This was the scene here. A snowstorm is currently sweeping through the Monte Vergine region. Probably again wrong pronunciation, but that's in Italy. And this is I'm sure blizzard conditions and students up in high elevations of the mountains in Italy, but nevertheless some very impressive wintry conditions here from Ross on TG. This is the scene here moving into the Mayotte region, territory of France, back I think that's between Madagascar and Africa. I think I'm right in saying this is a severe flooding due to a cyclone in this area. Nasty conditions here. Good afternoon to Frog's Legs Matthew. Thanks for tuning in. To you, Matthew, hope you're well. Not so cold here today. Ice and patchy snow on its way out. And that is the story for everyone, Matthew, over the next couple of days, I'm afraid, if you like winter. Anyway, nothing as it seems says I started studying the California climate in the 1970s. Interesting stuff. Let me see here. So, yeah. Interesting climate. Some people can say that it is a little bit on the boring side, but I don't think so at all. So anybody else tuning in? We've got Chris A tuning in as well. Good afternoon to you, Chris. I think Richard said it was 1-1 currently. Who are they playing, Richard, by the way? You can let me know in the chat. So let me see here. This is a video here. Prayers for California. This is from Valence, showing the wildfire situation. We'll look at me about footage in a sec. This is I think it was 2004 the last time I was in the LA area. One of 2 visits to the Los Angeles area. I was staying in Yorba Linda to the southeast of downtown LA back in 2004 with a friend who happens to now live out there. But this is from the Griffith Observatory of the smoke from that Pacific Palisades fire. Again, Winter Wonderland in parts of Italy. This, by the way, this is brutal. 16 confirmed deaths, 5 from the the Palisades fire, 11 from the Eaton fire. So obviously we've got 2 separate fires, I believe. Look at this here, folks. By the way, if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, there's something that's wrong. Yeah, this is the scenes that we're seeing coming out of Southern California in past days. We've got Lindsay tuning in from Dingwall. Hope you're not skiving, Lindsay, at work, but hope your shift is going well. And yes, we still don't have any heat, by the way. I did try a little bit earlier. Arsenal away, says Richard. Ooh, interesting. I kind of wish I was watching this game, but listen, you folks are the priority, and there is no rest for the wicked here at Marfogan Weather HQ. Let me see here what else we've got in terms of what's going on around the planet. So a 6.2 magnitude earthquake causes damage in the Puerto de Hierro private hospital in Coloma in Mexico. So a nasty earthquake. This is the effects of that earthquake. So let's crack on then. What else have we got here? So we've obviously had the severe cold and snow and ice affecting parts of the eastern United States in recent days. Warehouse collapse in Semarang in Indonesia due to flooding. So nasty scenes coming out of the Sulawesi region of Indonesia. Let me just see here what else we've got of interest. So yes. Right, let's crack on then. Let's go back to the temperature anomaly chart real quick and see. Storm hits such and such a place in Poland. Powerful winter storm has struck this region, bringing massive waves and strong winds. I'm assuming this is along the Baltic coastline of northern Poland. Obviously, you can see the snow falling as well here. So let's go back to the temperatures for the UK. This is how they're looking then at 10 to 5 in the evening. We're gradually starting to warm things up from west to east. Takes a little bit whiler for that milder air and the suspended aloft to then mix into down to lower levels of the atmosphere, especially eastern areas where you've got that high still kind of lingering in place. But that southwesterly wind is continuing to drag in something a little bit milder. In fact, if we look at the charts here, you can see that high pressure, so the cold air is still locked in place over eastern and southern areas of the UK. If we put on the 850s here, you can see quite nicely. This is off the GFS chart, by the way. And if we look at the 850s, there's the milder air. So the mildest air is actually present over Scotland. The chill is still hanging on underneath the centre of the high, which is now positioned over southern portions of the UK. But you see the squeeze in the isobars. We've got an area of low pressure at 986 millibars to the south of Iceland. That high now drifting into the near continent. Southwesterly winds pulling air in from a southwesterly direction. And that is going to start to erode this cold air in place at the moment here. And you can see if we play through the loop, chilly air, very chilly air now across much of Europe anyway. 10 Celsius at 850 over Aberdeen, by the way. This is by the time we reach 03 UTC tomorrow morning, and fairly brisk southwesterly winds. You notice the snow depth very quickly getting eroded as we see that warmer air getting drifted in from the north. But the wind gusts, maximum wind gusts, if we go back to early Saturday, not Saturday, early Monday morning, you can see very strong gusty winds, especially through the Outer Hebrides, possibly the Northern Isles, the northwest of Scotland. Play through, you can see here that we've got that windy southwesterly flow here, ushering in the mild and ushering out the cold. Continue to play through this loop. You can see here that high pressure largely dominates through this upcoming work week, so therefore we're not going to see much in the way of precipitation. Let's have a look and see what the precipitation is looking like over the next 5 days or so. This is all the way out to next Saturday, 6Z UTC. Very little in the way of rainfall for the bulk of England, but western facing coasts are going to see the most moisture off the Atlantic here, but generally as quite a dry look to the next week or so, according to the GFS model anyway. If we look at the ECMWF model here for the same time, well, this is Friday 17th, and same story. Again, west-facing areas of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland as well, sees most of the moisture from the Atlantic here. Generally, high pressure is the name of the game. But we will, as I said, we will look at the longer-term picture in the next day or so. So do stay tuned if you're wanting to know what's going to happen going forward. So let me see if there's anything else that I can pick out in terms of weather conditions. So I don't know if there is. This is obviously the scenes in parts of California. You've all seen it on social media, so there's no point in the news and social media. There's no point in continuing to show the same images here, but yeah, our thoughts and our prayers are very much with the people of Southern California at this moment in time. Interesting here, Cordoba in Argentina, a tornado is showing. It's either a funnel cloud. It actually looks like a funnel cloud as opposed to a tornado anyway. Obviously, we're in the middle of summer now here. Let's go back quickly to the global picture in terms of the first 12 days of January. Central and eastern United States cold than average. Much of Canada is warmer than average. The UK and Ireland firmly colder than average. Most of northern portions, anywhere from really Central Europe all the way across Russia to the Pacific coast, we've got warmer than average. So that warm anomaly continues to hold on. But yeah, let me see here. We've got Steffi Adcock, Hazel, Richard, Frog's Legs, Matthew. We've got Chris A. We've got who else? I've said Steffi, City Andy. We've got Steve. Just making sure that I don't forget anybody. We're going to round up in just a second. Thanks very much, as always, to our moderators for your support and help. So thanks to Sing Splint and to Paul James for moderating today's live stream. A massive thank you as always. And obviously Lindsay tuned in, but she is at work at the moment. But thanks for tuning in nonetheless, Lindsay. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So massive thank you. Going to round up there. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the coming of milder conditions if you like that sort of thing. But in the video coming up, we're going to look and see what the medium to long range pattern is looking like. We'll talk a little bit about the month of February as well over the next several days. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of both your Sunday and your weekend. And I'll see you tomorrow evening with the first European outlook of the week. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.